What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Average American Podcast. This is your host, Nathan Tate, the podcast for the Average American by the Average American. And this episode's going to be a little different than what I've done previously. Normally, I come at you with some current standing information or some historical stuff. But a while ago, when I first started this page, I did a personal reflection. And I've sort of reached a crossroads with myself, I think, lately. At least the last week or so, just kind of feeling, I mean, I don't think maybe lost is the right word, but discouraged is probably the best way to describe that. I titled this episode My Quiet Desperation because there's a quote, I want to say it's Henry David Thoreau, but that could be incorrect. I've heard it Rogan quoted a bunch of times, that every man lives a life of quiet desperation. And I feel like I'm getting there. I feel like I'm sort of stuck in this loop. And it's my fault. Mostly it's my fault. Or maybe it's all my fault. For what I haven't accomplished in my life to this point. I think that's fair to say. Sucks to say. To be honest, that's a disappointing thing to say out loud, I think, and having the discipline to consistently do this, and not get worn down by it, because, I mean, the biggest thing I think I struggle with is, it's not having success with this, the podcast, or, not getting the views I want, or anything like that, but feeling the importance of the message I'm trying to convey or the information I'm portraying, and hoping that it reaches people that will also think it's important to reach this information to other people, and that kind of spirals. I get it from other people to give to other people who then give it to other people. That's sort of the way it works, right? That's how we spread the information and make sure people are informed. But I think the problem is, one, I'm not working hard enough at this. That's just a fact. I try to put in what effort I can, but I'm not doing enough. And that's all on me. And going forward, I'm going to try a lot harder. Because I think it's super important to get this stuff out to people, to get the messages I'm trying to convey, the information to people. And the only way I can do that is to constantly be in your face. So I've got to start trying to do that. I'm going to start posting to social media about these things. So go follow my pages there. They should be in my YouTube bio for any of the stuff you want to reach or get to. The Facebook page is the Average American Podcast. Average American 26, I believe. At Average American 26 is my Instagram. At the .tot is my TikTok handle. And I'm going to start posting stuff there. So hopefully we can get those off and jumping. But I'm just really worried that, there's a lot of things happening that I've talked about here on this page that people don't care about. Or I don't even want to say they don't care about it. I don't want to put that on people about them not caring, as much as we all exist in this bubble that is us, right? The thing about America that's so great is the liberty and freedom that we're granted, but the unfortunate part about the liberty and freedom is creates a lot of individualism. And while I believe in individualism, we're too big to just be sustainable on individualism. There has to be some collectivism. Now, I've talked on this page about socialism and how much I don't believe in the products of socialism, although some of the socialistic ingredients can be really good for a system. We've incorporated them in ways that have helped people, have been beneficial. Food stamps, Medicare, Medicaid, all that kind of stuff has helped people. It's rampant with fraud and waste and taxpayer money that's going to nothing. So that's something that we have to fix, but I'm concerned more with the fact that none of those things will be fixed, because there's just such a large portion of people that just they don't think about this stuff at all. And I get it, you're just trying to survive. But guess what? You don't live in a society where you just survive anymore. There are ramifications. This isn't hunting for today's food. This isn't, trying to plant a harvest and make sure that the crops don't die, or like, we've evolved well beyond that. And I'm not arguing that we won't have food problems or scarcity or anything like that. That could happen if, the wind blows the right direction. But at the current moment, we're under psychological siege, not physical. Granted, our food supply is pretty much shit. But you can avoid most of that if you just do it the right way, or just eat it in moderation so that it doesn't give you fucking cancer. But the real warfare is the warfare of the mind. It's going on, all the propaganda that's being thrown out by people that do not have your best interests at heart. And I just find it difficult to let that shit go. Like, every day I'm learning more and more about these things that are happening to all of us, or going to happen to all of us. And see, there's probably a lot of people that won't see this, that don't understand about what's the other goings on in the world. Like, we are such a specific situation. We, have freedom of speech to say these things and talk about these issues and hold our leaders accountable. In other places, they do not have those rights. Australia, the UK, pick any Middle Eastern country. They were murdering protesters in Iran. Now, how much of that is propaganda too for the Iran war? I don't know. But it's probably true that the regime was, killing individuals for the sake of protesting and saying they don't like what the government's doing. So I think so many of us have grown up with such an easy road of being able to do these things that you're not realizing what a lot of people are calling for on both sides of this equation. For 4 years I watched the Democratic administration that was elected, censor the fuck out of people relative to COVID, and take information down and threaten companies, with ad bans and revenue loss and all these kinds of things that could really hurt and damage your company. Now, some of these, like a Facebook, a Twitter, all that kind of stuff, they probably complied for reasons other than just the financial strain, because let's be realistic. Facebook's got probably 4 billion users. It's not going anywhere. But their model is to constantly build upwards, as is every company. They're supposed to exponentially grow infinitely, which seems impossible, right? But that's kind of what the stock market is. It just exponentially grows infinitely. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of us are too late to that party, but I still invest in my portfolio just to try to hope that I'm not too late to be able to reap the benefits of some of that. And, these corporations have so much sway over what we do and what we say. They're you should be concerned about them being in cahoots with government, because we saw it, right? So we saw with that, we saw with the Twitter files, we saw Zuckerberg come and say whether he was really being honest about how he felt about it or not, or if it's just to, go with the flow of what things are happening now because it's a company and we want people to be popular on our platform. I don't know. But he did say on Theo Vaughn's podcast and Rogan's podcast about the Biden administration threatening and forcing them to censor things. And they said they wouldn't, but they did. So he's lying there. I mean, maybe they didn't censor everything. I don't know, to be honest with you. But he's lying, because they did censor shit. And obviously Twitter did before it was bought by Elon. And then Elon released the Twitter files that showed all of the administration's threats. Or not even threats, because Twitter was okay with doing it. But, all of the commands, if you will, of that administration. So then we fast forward to 2024. We think it's an incredibly pivotal election. We have to get somebody in who's not going to do this, right? Trump, 2024, I voted for him. 80 million people voted for him, or like 79 million people, however many people it was. Dude won by a landslide, realistically. I mean, the popular vote was pretty close, but if you talk about the delegates and the electoral college, he pretty much sweeped it. Sorry, I needed that. Not a sponsor of Diet Coke, by the way, but Diet Coke, no caffeine. It's delicious. Excuse me. And so we fast forward to the 2024 election, and, you know, I thought, let's get somebody in there who at least isn't going to take this away from me. He's been attacked by the system. He was held down for 3 years of his presidency by propagandic bullshit, the Russian hoax stuff and the Steele dossier to get rid of the Hunter Biden laptop was a real fucking thing, or Hillary Clinton's emails that we never fucking learned more about. All this shit that was suppressed information and pretty much eliminated Trump's ability to do anything in the 4 years that he first served. But you know what he did do that I thought was very interesting? In 2017, I think it was campuses in Florida? Could have been campuses in several states. He made it a crime to say anything anti-Semitic. Now you can go look that up. I heard it secondhand and have not researched it myself. I'm full disclaimer on that. But I believe that came from Megyn Kelly. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just guessing. But that, or maybe Fuentes? Either way, it's a thing you could look up that was really done in his first administration. And so that went under the radar for most of us because there was just so much taking the headlines at the time. There were so many things that were redirecting focus, you know, between the COVID stuff, then into the Ukraine war, you know, the Russian hoax from 2017. And I say leading into the Biden administration because we still could have found out about that, but no one was bringing that up. And it seems to be this really weird thing where the Israel lobby has influence on both sides, right? So now we're at this point. If you go back to September of last year when Charlie Kirk was assassinated while he was doing his speech at Utah. Was it Utah? I don't remember which college now, but we all saw the video. And he was doing his general debating, and he was killed. And we have had zero information that's been really useful released. We got a little bit, and then nothing. It's been pretty much radio silence. And then Joe Kinn comes out and does an interview with Tucker Carlson and Sean Ryan. And in the Sean Ryan one, I'm not sure about the Tucker Carlson because I don't remember specifically. But Sean Ryan, for sure, he talked about the fact that as the head of counterterrorism, he needed to investigate foreign leads that existed relative to the Charlie Kirk murder. And he was told not to. And there were things, he said, that were not looked into that possibly could have given way to some information that may have shed more light on what happened to Charlie Kirk. Very interesting that he would be told to drop that investigation when it's his responsibility as the the head of counterterrorism to look into possible foreign nation influence and or involvement in that situation with Charlie Kirk. Now, I'm not here to debate whether you like Charlie Kirk or dislike Charlie Kirk, but a man was murdered in front of his family, and that's a fucking problem, especially considering the fact that he was a public figure. A polarizing public figure. Whether you like him or not. He was polarizing in both ways. Very similar to a Donald Trump. However, it does appear that there are some things being left out. That these deep state provocateurs and puppet masters, if you will, are making sure we don't know. I mean, Trump talked about releasing Epstein files and the JFK files. JFK files were heavily redacted. We learned nothing. Okay, they made a whole show on the Epstein files with Pam Bondi and was talking about the videos were just kiddie porn. That was all that left after we released the files. Come to find out, there's like 3 million more files, and then he fires Pam Bondi, thinking that makes a difference. and brings in this Todd Blanche, and Todd Blanche goes, "You're not getting anything else, go fuck yourself." That's essentially what we got from him about the Epstein stuff. So we will not be getting any more information on Epstein. Why? I don't know. But it goes without saying that there's some kind of cover-up here. But going back to the Charlie Kirk thing, before I deviate too far, they started talking about hate speech. And I don't know about you, but hate speech is a load of fucking shit. Hate speech does not exist. Speech that is hateful or has a malicious intent behind it to hurt someone's feelings and or, denigrate them, then yes, that does exist. But hate speech is not a fucking thing, okay? You can't hurt somebody with language. If you get hurt by words, you're a fucking pussy. That's just a fact. And I don't mean, yes, our feelings get hurt by things that people say. But there's this weird dynamic where it's become in the last few years that words are violence. No, words are not violence. Violence can be inspired by words. That's called incitement, which is a crime, and is much different. But actual violence from words is not possible. They're words. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me. Don't be a bitch. How about that? And so we have this administration that we thought was not going to give us the same shit, kind of slow leaking their agenda based on a very prevalent figure and looking at saying, hey, we can't let this hate speech, continue. And then the, oh God, what is the organization? I don't remember what the organization, but they changed the definition of anti-Semitism to the criticism of anything Israel related. Israel or its government. Now, I don't know about you, but a nation state, whether it is dictated by a singular population of individuals or not, the criticism of a nation state and or its government is not relative to the criticism of a race or religion, which is what this hate speech would fall under. So, you start seeing that, and then they do something really strange that makes no sense to me. They target the SPLC for funding hate groups. And if you don't know what the SPLC is, the Southern Poverty Law Center. Look them up. But they were funding hate groups so that they would have something to advocate and fundraise against. And so, I don't know if that move is to actually do anything or not. But see, there's this weird... And I gotta be honest, it's all just so very, very fucking confusing. And my real concern, the real thing that scares me, is that by the time we realize what this is, or that people figure out that this is propaganda, that they're trying to pit us against each other so that they can initiate and enact policies. I mean, go back and look at the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act, it makes it legal to spy, and then they just voted to re-up FISA. Was it 702? The Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, which they used to spy on Donald Trump. They're using this shit. These are precedents. These are laws they've written for themselves. Why aren't they doing term limits? It was just suggested by Trump, which was super surprising to me. But, I highly doubt that'll fucking go over. These motherfuckers don't want to give up their seats. And that's the problem. Is you got people who lived in the 60s, 70s who are still making policy. Like, bro, they don't know. They're not moving with the times. They're not. They're not realizing what's going to change. Mitch McConnell's basically a body. There's a really, really old black lady who's still a congresswoman that doesn't even participate in the votes anymore because she's like 90-something. So it's like these people are constantly redirecting the system to only benefit them and not benefit us. Not to mention on top of it, like with the Epstein stuff, that there's a ring of sex trafficking that's going on with children that exists. It exists. And it did not stop because Jeffrey Epstein died. They just redirected. And why is Israel one of those places, or the place, where pedophiles go? I mean, there's like 90-some-odd pedophiles that live, that are under current indictment in other countries, including this one, because Israel doesn't extradite. They won't extradite. They won't, that reoffended and were put in prisons in Israel, by the way. So it wasn't like these guys, went and lived a clean life and regretted what they did. They reoffended. They did whatever to more children. And it's like, when do we wake up and fucking realize that this entire system is being crafted to take away our fucking rights, bro? You think your guns are gonna fucking save you? I heavily advocate for the Second Amendment because it's all we have. But guess what? They have drones, they have bombs, and pretty soon they're gonna have artificial intelligence. And that shit's gonna be 10 times as smart as you and me. And if you think that you can outsmart the artificial intelligence, I don't know what to tell you, because you can't. And that's why we have this. You think nukes were bad? Take something that is emotionally stunted or emotionless, give it access to them, and then face a crisis. In any of the war games that have been played, almost every time they've used nuclear weapons. And it's almost like you can't even argue that that's a bad thing, other than maybe the radiation, because look what they did to Gaza. They bombed it until basically the same level of devastation existed. Is it better to just drop regular bombs and kill people slowly than it is to do it all at once? So it's not like it's acting outside of the programming of what human beings do anyway. And that's scary enough as it is. And so as technology develops and as military equipment becomes more advanced, less and less we have the opportunity to protect ourselves and protect our rights. And stop the censorship and stop them taking away your future. They're going to eliminate your ability to fight back, to talk back, to have any individualism, any sense of liberty. Benjamin Franklin said it best: a man who is willing to give up liberty for security deserves neither. And I'm sorry, there's so many people who don't deserve either. And they just willfully go with whatever the government says. The government will not save you. We created the fucking government. God damn it. That's just so hard for, like, how hard-headed do you have to be? They've never improved your life. Not fucking once. You think that they did by giving you food stamps and giving you, like, temporary housing or putting you in a housing authority or low-income housing. They didn't. All they did was make you reliant on them. And then now look at you. Look what you're doing. And the perfect example that I've already pointed out in a different video is that you're complaining that they took away soda and candy from fucking food stamps. Hey, guess what, fatty? You signed up for that. You were like, let the government take care of me. Well, guess what? They get to tell you what to do. And what happens when it's not soda and candy anymore? What happens when they tell you, well, you don't get meat? You don't get meat because there's not enough to go around, because your carbon footprint. You drove your car too much this month. I mean, we can't be having that. I mean, what are we going to do to the environment? Think about the climate change. So you have to eat rice and vegetables this week. You don't get any meat. Or you were bad, we're not going to allow you to get any rations. And we're putting your car on lockdown. Oh, and we're going to move you into this city where you don't need to travel. It's going to have everything within 15-minute radius. Meanwhile, they're flying everywhere on jets. They built a fucking runway and a goddamn highway in the middle of the Amazonian rainforest so that they can fucking have a climate meeting. But yet, your fucking gas tank is the problem. Do you not see this? I mean, can this not click for people? They're slowly conditioning you to not pay attention. The phones, the flashing lights, the fucking everything in your goddamn face. And I know you have to be on the internet to see me say any of this shit. But you're failing to understand that it'll be too late. It's going to be too late. Your rights will be gone. Your ability to fight back will be gone, and you'll be left nothing. Klaus Schwab, you will own nothing and like it. And it's so concerning to me. I sit here and I listen to this all the time. And I see people argue in comment sections, and you don't even know how many people are real. And they have one picture, but they have 100 friends. And it's like, I don't think you're a real person. But how the fuck would we know? We're going to end up being like our grandparents, who, like, they don't understand how to work a phone. For us, that's going to be AI. We're not going to know what's fucking real. Like, we have got to get a hold on this situation. I just read an article head. Now, I would need to read the whole article, but the head itself is concerning, and I believe it, that Kevin O'Leary, who is a piece of shit anyway, and not because he's rich, because he's a fucking dickhead, that's why. But Kevin O'Leary wants to build an AI an AI data center in Utah that would use 9 gigawatts of energy, which is double what the state of Utah uses. Okay, already that's insane. But the environmental ramifications from the amount of water is going to be needed to do that, they're not going to care about resources. That you're failing to understand that you are expendable to them. And once they create a way to replace the labor, you're really going to fucking be expendable then. And my dad used to say to me that there's going to be a chip that goes in our hand. And I always thought he was a little bit crazy and it was a terrifying notion, but goddamn it, he might be fucking right. That really might be what happens. They're going to do something to mark you. To force identification upon you. Like a fucking pig or a lamb for slaughter. Like a tag on your ear, like a fucking cow that marks which number you are. And that's all you'll be. That's all you are to them. Even now, that's all you are to them. And it's like, goddamn, dude, some of us are just getting dragged along with this shit because so many people are just day to day. They can't. And this is where my quiet desperation comes in. I'm living every day like just waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the autonomy to disappear, and watching as we all walk towards it while some of us are standing in the crowd screaming like, hey, turn around, this is bad, stop fucking. But there's so many people with headphones on and their heads down and hoods over that they don't even fucking see it. And I get it. Some people don't want to be involved in this. But the reality is, it's going to be too late. By the time you realize what's happening, it's too late. You can't do anything about it. And I worry about my nieces and my nephews and your kids and the future of humanity under this weird oligarchy that we exist under, that we pretend is some kind of political system, but it's just a back and forth of these rich motherfuckers, and every once in a while a new one gets in there. But they all become the same fucking thing, bought and paid for, blackmailed and extorted until they do what's told of them or asked of them. It's like, when do we, the people, take the responsibility back? When, founding fathers would be so disappointed. And you could be one of those fucking faggy liberals who's like, oh, I'm upset that, they had slaves or whatever. It was a product of the time. Was it wrong? Yes. Guess what? Slavery still goes on today. Your phone's made from slave labor. So do me a favor and shut the fuck up. You're not on a high horse. You're not special. That's the problem. None of us are fucking special, but we gotta realize that the only way to be special is to, do all this shit together. The reason January 6th was punished so hard was not because of an affront to what it could be. You know what I mean? It's this changing of what do you call it? This changing of social interaction and power within the governmental structure, the people retaking what they believe is theirs, right? It was the fact that they showed defiance. Now, whether you agree with what they did or disagree with what they did, if you don't have all the facts about it, I highly recommend you look into it, because a lot of it seems staged. There were provocateurs, they let them in, they walked them around, all this kind of shit, and we were afraid for our lives. No, you weren't. Shut up, you performative little bitch. The reason you're a politician is because you couldn't make it as an actor. Shut up. But when you show a display like that against the system, of bucking it, of going, we're not going to let you fucking do this. We don't think what you did was right, and we demand justice for it. The recourse of action is to toss you in jail and lock you up and silence you. Treat you like a dog. Cause you to never speak out again. But I got news for you. If you don't want that to happen to you because your social credit score gets too low, or you've overconsumed the amount of meat you're allowed for a week, or your carbon footprint fucking went too high this weekend. I don't know what we're gonna do with you. We got to discipline you somehow, so we're gonna take your rations. you better start fucking paying attention. Somebody needs to give a shit. Somebody other than the few individuals that do, and I say few, even if it's 10 million, that's not enough to move the needle. You need 100 million. You need a billion people to move the fucking needle. We need as many people as you can fucking get. Look at the race that's going on right now in Kentucky. Kentucky, why is it so important that Thomas Massey get out of his seat to these people? AIPAC has spent $10 million on a guy I've never even fucking heard of before to try and dethrone Thomas Massey. Because he does not believe, in aid to foreign countries while we still have problems in ours. And that's the thing. I've never even been opposed to giving aid to other countries, but we have so many fucking problems. Do you think that we should be giving aid to other countries? I get it's a global economy, but there's a problem there. What happens to the American? We either rise above the third world or we become the third world. And I don't know if you've seen the country lately, but we're much closer to the third world than we are rising above it. And people will get desperate. And that's when things get really desperate, when the chaos really breaks out, that's when they will initiate what they want. That's when the martial law will kick in. That's when the militarization of our government will take over, and they will rule with an iron fist. The fascism you cry about, well, guess what? You won't have any way to stop it. And it won't be because you elected Kamala Harris or that Donald Trump got in office. It's because you're so fucking stuck on the fact that one team or the other is the one that's right when it's not it. It's us versus them. It's been that way since the beginning. It's going to continue to be that way. And we are the majority. We have to hold them accountable. And I'm afraid, and this is what I guess gives me anxiety, is that it'll never happen. And the masses will continue to move towards their own demise and destruction. And they'll do it happily with glee. Why? Because I got to do a 2-for-1. I got a BOGO on some shit that I fucking like. Well, there is no BOGO on freedom. There's no BOGO on fucking military, or not military, liberty. You don't buy one and get the other. You have to stand for it. You have to be willing to sacrifice everything for it. And I have not done enough in my life to say that I wouldn't sacrifice everything for the liberty and freedom of this country and what it was built on. And I hope that you would feel the same way. But unfortunately, based on what I've seen, there's too many people who would run to the slaughterhouse rather than run away from it. All because the guy with the toupee or the orange hat or the cool slogan said, hey, we put a cool sign over the slaughterhouse. You should check it out. And then they got your ass. Slow and quiet desperation, that's what this is. And I'll tell you what, I feel desperate as fuck anymore. But I won't, as long as I can and as long as you can, we should not let them take our voice. That's the last line of defense that we have. The ability to corral around each other with our voices and make ourselves heard. So, do with that information what you will. I appreciate you tuning in. For anyone that did listen, thank you. Until next time.